Hi. Hi. Hi, hi. Hi. Jake doesn't contribute to my debt. I don't contribute to his mortgage. I did work an hour of overtime. I have 4 loans left to pay off and my minimum payment is 1. So let me just kind of walk through and explain exactly what that means. Hey, I'm Sandra. I'm a 26-year-old occupational therapist living in Denver, Colorado, and every 2 weeks I show you exactly what I do with my paycheck, as well as the portion of my boyfriend's income that goes to our shared expenses. I was paid last Friday, so we're gonna go ahead and break down that paycheck and share what I do with the money as someone who is trying to invest, aggressively pay off over 6 figures of student loan debt ASAP, and live a life that is full of fulfillment. So, the budget template that you see me using here is linked down below. I created it to help manage my finances. I needed something that allowed me to set targets every single month that carried over into each month, track my expenses in one spot, assign money to different expenses and savings, and then allow that money to carry over if it wasn't spent in a certain month. And that didn't exist, so I went ahead and built it. And like I said, it's available down below. You can also check out this video to see all the features and a walkthrough step-by-step on how to use this template if you're interested. But let's go ahead and jump in and budget this paycheck because we got a lot to do here. On Friday, I was paid $2,022.70. I usually expect it to be right around $2,000. I did work an hour of overtime, so it's a little bit higher. Usually it's actually a little bit less than $2,000. I am paid hourly down to the minute. Yes, as a skilled professional, this is very normal in healthcare. So worked an hour of overtime, ended up with about $40 more than I usually make. And then Jake's contribution to our shared expenses from his last paycheck is $2,500. So now I'm gonna walk you through exactly what I'm gonna do with that money, starting with my most important goal, which is paying off debt. Every single month with my first paycheck, I make my minimum payment to my loan. I have 4 loans left to pay off and my minimum payment is $1,060. And then I would love to show you what my balance is, except on filming this video, my loan servicer is down. So I'm just gonna put the amount here. This is what this payment brought my balance down to. So I can't speak to exactly what the progress is because I haven't been able to check it. Anyways, with this, it leaves us with $3,545 left to work with. And the good news is we can spend that all very quick and make this video very short by putting it towards our mortgage. So first, to make sure that the money is accounted for and there, I'm just gonna put our mortgage into our buckets category here. And then because we paid it, I'm just gonna go ahead and drop it as an expense also. So what I like to do is just assign all the money at once if I can. I don't like to split things up between paychecks just because I can expect to get another paycheck and I know about how much that's gonna be for. My income is not variable. Again, just because I like to have like whole amounts to budget with, I don't like to break up categories. It gets confusing, even though it is very easy to tell with this budget how much you are setting aside for things and if a category is full or not, because I know more money's coming. And I know that I've set my targets within the money that I expect to have. I just like to break it up, okay? So we're just gonna assign our variable spending for this month. It brings us to a total assigned of $4,506, leaving us with about $18 less to assign, and that'll just roll over for next paycheck. So let me just kind of walk through and explain exactly what that means. This table here is money that I have assigned, which means that I've given it a job, but I haven't necessarily spent it yet. In the case of the mortgage, we had spent it, so I wanted to give it the job for the mortgage, then also spend it on the mortgage. So I went ahead and then tracked that expense in the expenses table. The reason that I do it this way, assigning the money and then also spending it, is maybe not as helpful in the mortgage where I spend exactly what I assign, but it is helpful for other utilities or things that vary month to month. So for example, for gas and power, we just took the average of what we expect to spend on gas and power over a year and divided that by 12. So right now in the summer, we don't have air conditioning, we don't use heat, and our lights are on less just because it's summer, it's daylight longer. So our gas and power bill tends to be a lot cheaper in the summer than it is in the winter. Without fail, we will set aside $187 for that bill. But what that means is that when our bill is only $30, we have $150 of buffer left over that we go ahead and just put into a bucket for gas and power. That way in the winter, when our bill is more like $200, $250 a month, we have money to spend. This allows us to just have a simple budget. We're not getting thrown off by higher expenses. We have a bucket built up to to handle them. Essentially, it creates like a built-in sinking fund for higher expenses. But then we're not budgeting $30 in the summer and then $300 in the winter. We're just budgeting what the average is over the year and setting the money aside. So that is why I'm assigning money and then spending it. Same thing could be true for something like a mortgage. If you're trying to get ahead on your expenses, but don't have the money to do that all at once, it might be helpful to assign $3,100 to the mortgage and slowly build up a bucket with that extra $50 that you don't actually spend, so that you just have a little bit of a safety net there. So that's where the functionality of that bucket or assigning comes from. It also comes into play when saving. So anything that I assign towards my savings accounts will go into this buckets table, and then it'll get tracked as money saved this month, and I'll also be able to see how each of those buckets is growing. If you're not familiar, I use an Ally savings account, so I will physically move the money into a separate savings account whenever I'm saving money. And I like Ally specifically because they have this buckets feature in their savings account, so you can have one account and divide the money into different buckets within that one account. And this makes it really easy for me to balance my books because I can just see what I expect to have based on my template that tracks how much I have saved, including when I spend from that account, because I can track spending from a savings account in my expenses table. So I can just quickly look at my Ally bank account. It says, okay, you have $167 for credit card annual fees. I can look at my template and see, yep, I have $167. I didn't miss anything there. Slow, steady progress is still progress and is super important. That's what I like about how I do my money, is I can kind of see how that money builds over time, and then it also allows me to account for some variability. But for this month, this is where we're gonna call it quick and dirty. Usually my first paycheck is this way because I have those larger expenses on the front end, and then I go through with the next paycheck and cover the rest of it because I'll have about the same amount of money to work with. So that is where my money goes as someone making $4,000 a month and paying off debt. We don't split expenses evenly. Jake doesn't contribute to my debt. I don't contribute to his mortgage. So even though this is kind of the combined picture, the $1,000 towards my debt came entirely from my paycheck. For the sake of this budget template, I just have it as combined income, and ultimately that's what we'll work towards once we get married and like actually combine our lives, but we haven't gotten around to that yet, so it's on the to-do list. But like I said in my last budget video, I think it's more helpful to see our combined picture because I do share a lot about value-based spending, using money to afford a lifestyle that's fulfilling to you, but I think that's hard to see when we are kind of supporting that lifestyle on two incomes. When I only shared my portion of savings and also like not really our living expenses, it didn't really give the full picture. So it was easier for the sake of YouTube to just combine our budgets, but just to be clear, like I pay for my debt, he pays for his. So that's where we're at for this month. I will be paid again in 2 weeks, and I will of course have an update. So if you want to see that, go ahead and hit subscribe. As always, your pleasure. If you're not sick of me, check out more here.